Afternoon all. I promised to do a video of making the ear saver for our health and care champions. This is the pattern that I've posted on various Facebook groups, and I did say I'd try and do a video, so here we go. Hope it's of use to you. So to make your saver, you're going to need obviously some yarn. The best yarn is going to be 100% cotton. This is because these things are going to have to be washed at regular intervals at 60 degrees plus. Now I happen to be using, what is it, King Cole Cotton Soft. That just happens to be the one I got. I get no commission for this. And it's a nice yarn. I think what you'll find with most cotton double knitting is it can tend to split. You just got to be a little bit careful where you put your hook as you go along, but otherwise it's absolutely fine. It does the job and it's quite pretty. You can get all sorts of cotton. I suggest double knitting because it crochets up a bit faster. But you can get craft yarn, which is somewhat cheaper than the yarn I'm using at the moment, and I might well go on to that once I finish this. I just happen to have this. Okay, so you're going to need your hook. I'm using a 4.5mm hook, but really it's the hook that suits you, your tension of crocheting and the yarn you're using. So maybe you need to experiment, or maybe you just know which one's going to work for you. You need scissors. Ultimately, you're going to also need a tapestry type needle. Test it on the buttons you're going to use, because if it won't go through the holes, it's no good to you. The buttons, I've managed to get hold of 20mm buttons, courtesy of Gedling Play Forum. Thank you very much indeed, Gedling Play Forum and Leslie. That's probably the minimum size you should be using. If you can get them slightly larger, that's even better. These will, I think, be fine though. And an awful lot of buttons do come at around 20mm. Okay. So off we go. I will take you through making the chainless treble, half treble rather, foundation. But I am going to assume you've got a little bit of crochet knowledge. So you will start with a slip knot. Pop that on your hook, and this is the only little bit of chaining that you're going to do. Now you may find a lot of instructions will ask you to make 3 chain at this point. I found through experimentation that 2 is better. That's just something that I've developed. So make 2 chain on your hook. Wrap the yarn around your hook once. Put the hook through the bottom chain. Wrap the yarn around the hook and pull through. Okay, now this is the trick with the chainless whatever you're making, which is you're actually doing the chain at the bottom and the treble or etc. both in the same stitch. So if you remember that you have to make the chain before you finish the stitch, hopefully that will help. Okay, so just flip this around a little bit. Hopefully that's going to be visible to you. Yep, I think so, probably. Okay, so there we are. I've wrapped the chain around my hook once. I've stuck the hook into the bottom chain and I've pulled a loop through. So I've now got 3 loops on my hook. So if you remember, we have to make the chain first. So wrap the yarn around your hook and pull through 1 loop only. And ooh, I'm not very good at this, am I? Yeah, here we go. Okay, 1 loop only. Wrap the round again, the yarn round the hook again, and pull through the 3 loops on your hook. That makes the first chainless half treble foundation. Okay, next one. Wrap the yarn around the hook. Now you're going to have to start by finding that bottom chain. It's a bit fiddly, but it is there. Fiddle the hook into that bottom chain, both loops, and pull through 1 loop. Okay, you've got 3 loops on your chain. Wrap the yarn around again, pull through 1. You've just made the bottom chain. Wrap the yarn around again and pull through all 3. That's the complete stitch. Looks like a bit of a mess at the moment, but as you go along, it is going to look a bit better. Okay. Right. Here we go. Wrap the yarn around your hook. Find that bottom chain. Fiddle the hook through both loops of that bottom chain. Pull the hook through the bottom chain. You've now got 3 loops on your hook. Wrap the yarn, pull through the first loop. You have now made the bottom chain. Okay. I don't know if it's gonna work for you, but there we are, bottom chain. You've got 3 loops on your hook. Wrap the yarn again, pull through all 3. Now if you turn your work to look at the bottom, you can see that there are chains starting to develop along the bottom. Okay, let's do another one. Wrap the yarn through, whoops, have to fiddle a little bit, but it does work, through the bottom chain. Wrap the yarn, pull through. Wrap the yarn through the first loop only, that's making your chain. Wrap the yarn through all 3, that's making your half treble. Next stitch. Wrap the yarn round your hook and into the bottom chain. Wrap the yarn, pull through that bottom chain. Wrap the yarn through the first loop only. There's, oops, it's hard to figure this out. That's it. There's the chain on the bottom. Wrap the yarn through 3, all 3, and off we go again. And you're starting to get your foundation chainless half treble row, and you keep going until you've got well, I say 20, but again, it depends how tightly you crochet. You want to end up with something roughly 4.5 inches long, so you can perhaps measure your first 1 or 2, and maybe you need to do 20, maybe 19, maybe 21. You'll work that out for yourself. Hook through the bottom chain, pull through once, pull through the first loop, pull through all 3, wrap, hook through the bottom chain, pull the yarn through that, wrap, pull through the first loop only, wrap, pull through all three. You can count the bottom or the top. You find your chains tend to be a bit bigger on the top, so I tend to count those. You're starting not on the very first little bodge to get it going, but the first genuine chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Number 18, wrap through bottom chain, wrap, pull through, wrap, pull through the first chain to make that bottom chain, wrap, pull through all three to make the finish off the treble. That's 18, 19 coming up, wrap, through the bottom chain, wrap through the first loop, wrap through all three, and the last one. Okay, so now you're at the end and you just want to turn the corner here. So what you do is you make as if you were going to make another foundation chainless. So wrap and through that bottom chain. There we are, let's find it. But now we are just going to make a treble. So we wrap, we pull through, and we don't have to make a chain now, so we just wrap again and pull through all three. Okay, now we're going to make 3 into that chain there. So wrap into the same space, wrap, pull through, wrap, pull through all three. One more to do. Wrap into the same space, wrap and pull through 3. Right, so we have now turned the corner. So we're going to do trebles. Okay, we've already done our trebles down that side. We now need to do our trebles down the other side. So wrap into the next stitch, both loops by the way, wrap, pull through, wrap, pull through all three, wrap into the next stitch, wrap, pull through all three. Near the end. Okay, now, right, one more. Yeah, it was a bit tight, that one. Okay, so what we want to do now is turn the corner and finish off what is essentially a circle. So wrap, and I'm going to make a treble in, not into that sort of slip knot area, but one further down, so actually into the stitch. Wrap, pull through 3, Now we did 3 down that end, so we're going to do 3 into the same space down this end. Okay, 1 more to go. Wrap into that space, wrap, pull through all 3. Now if, sometimes I forget to do it, yes. If you find that whole space has got too big, you can just give the tail a bit of a tug just to tighten it up a bit. Okay, now we need to finish it off and attach one end to the other end. So just pull this about a bit so you can find the right area. You don't want to attach to the chain that you use to start it all going. You want to attach by a slip stitch to the first genuine treble. Okay, so pull it about a bit to find the right stitch and just pull the loop right the way through both. Shall we start that one again? Out it comes. Pull it around a bit. That's a chain that I used. That's the top of the first treble. Wrap, pull through that and pull that straight on through again. Okay, so that's now been completed and we start the next row. So we make ourselves a chain, and what we're going to do is make 2 double crochet, or if you're American, single crochet into the same stitch. So we've made a chain just to get us up to the right level. Hook into that stitch just below it, pull the loop through, loop, yarn around the hook again and pull through, and then do another one. So hook in, pull a loop through, yarn round, pull through again. Okay, now we'll finish off that end when we come round the other side. Right, now all we need to do until we get right up to the other side is double crochet, or again it's also called single crochet, all the way down. So into the stitch, both loops, and make your double crochet and on to the next one. Gets easy now. Now what you want to do is find the stitch just before you start doing your working on the trebles. So look, there's 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and the stitch just before where you've got the 3 trebles all in the same space, you want to make 2 double crochet, 1 and 2. And now you're going to start on the 3 trebles that you hooked into the same space. You're going to do the same thing, 2 double crochets into each of those stitches. So that's 1, 2, into the second treble, 1, 2, into the third treble, 1, 2. Okay, well we want it to look roughly the same on both sides. So the next stitch down you also do 2 double crochets, 1, 2. Okay, so that's that end done, looking roughly the same, and off we go again, doing 1 double crochet into each stitch along that side. Off we go. So it's the same thing again as we get to the end. Just check where you think the last here it is. Okay, now don't forget you've already done 2 double crochets in the opposite side. That's why it looks a bit odd. Okay, so 2 double crochets into this stitch, 1, 2, and then as we go around the corner we do 2 double crochets in to each of these trebles which you worked into the same space, and that gets you comfortably around your corner. Now here we are. Don't feel tempted to try and find another stitch to do 2 double crochets in. You've already done it. So what you have to do is find the top of the first double crochet that you did. So it's not that chain that you did to get up to the top of the double. There it is. Right? So hook through the top of that, make a slip stitch. So yarn through, pull through, and then through the other one. And you're done. Okay, so we finish it off in the traditional manner. Now, when you're going to do this, you might as well make use of this tail. So cut off enough for stitching the button on. You won't be able to do it on the other end, but why not make life easy for yourself? So here we go, and just pull the tail through that loop just to tie it off. Okay, then what I tend to do, this one's already nice and firm, so just weave it in just to make it look neat. And we're on the back, aren't we? Right, just try and make it as neat as you can. Hide it in the stitches. That's probably enough, but I'll just give it a little bit more. Just because it's going to take a bit of a battering. It's going to get washed at 60 degrees and all sorts of things. So there it is. And snip it off. Gone. Okay, and here's your other tail. So just thread your needle. There we go. Can be a bit tricky because to find a tapestry needle that goes through your button, it can be quite a narrow eye. Right, so here we are. So what I tend to do is take the needle through the chain next door, just for neatness sake, and just get the yarn, get the needle somewhere near the middle. Now, the easiest place start stitching through is that section where you've got that nice lump of 3 treble crochets into one hole. Yeah. Now it's pretty obvious which is the front and which is the back. What you'll find is that the chain of the double crochet that you've done all round tends to push itself towards one side, and that's the front, and that's a bit of a decorative feature, I guess, of double crochet. So you want to just get your needle through to the front, okay, and then stitch on your button on. Now you don't have to use the same yarn if you don't want to. If you've got some cotton, and I say cotton as opposed to polyester thread, then there's nothing at all to stop you using that. And what I tend to do is try and hide the underneath stitch through that bit of treble crochet altogether, because it's just neater. And I also like to leave with buttons a little bit of shank. So I'm doing 2 loops, one side to the other, and then making a cross. Again, two stitches. And there's one. Not too tight, so you still got your shank. And the next one, that's probably going to be firm enough, I think. Keep the button on, and then, whoops, try not to drop your needle. Just stitch that through a couple of loops near the shank. Give it a quick wind round, not too much. You don't take up too much space on the button. And what I tend to try and do is catch the thread I'm using and stitch, split the thread, and that tends to stop it going anywhere. It's like a little knot. And then off we go, hiding our thread, giving it space so that if it wants to wheedle its way out, it's got a long way to go. Okay. And then we snip it. Now the other side, of course, you're going to have to attach your thread. Do it on the back. So just thread through. Till I get to that treble wodge, as I call it. Ease it through. And again, what I tend to try and do is split the stitch, just to make a tight knot, and then through to the front. Next button, there it is. Otherwise it's pretty much the same as before. Through your button, stitch back through that wodge. Not too tight. Leave a little bit of a shank. Yeah. That's 2. And do the other side. Get it in there. We are. Make a little cross twice. There's one. Catch it down. Something that helps with using the same yarn is any little messes that you make behind the button just tend to merge and nobody's worried. Then try and split your stitch if you can, draw back a little bit, and that should keep it all nice and firm. But I still like to weave it in a little distance just to keep it all together. Oh, flip around the back. Didn't do that with the other one, did I? Never mind. And snip it. There's your needle. And there you have it. One more. Ear saver. Your final ear saver will be around 5 inches. I have asked for some feedback about that, but all the various patterns seem to indicate that 5 inches is about the size to go for. If it's a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, I wouldn't worry. Okay. Thank you. Hope that's helpful.